Hi everybody. So this was, I was supposed to have a Zoom class tonight, but no one was live with me, so I went ahead and I already have two of the designs they were going to do videoed. So now I am going to do the one for the one person that doesn't have it, because I take a video of something when I am going to make the instructions. So in this particular instruction book, I took all of these pictures as still shots as I painted it. But for this one, for the sunflower one, summer basket one, I actually made a video of it while I painted it, so that I could have a backup video to be able to do grabs, pause it, and do a screenshot of it. So please excuse the cough drop and the stuffy nose. Brings out my Michigan accent for certain. And we will get started in doing the hydrangea border. So this is what I tell everybody in class, okay? You have to decide how you're going to stitch this piece. Do you need to do all of the shading? Do you need to do the background? Or are these things that you're not going to use an open stitch, so you don't really need to do? Or is it going to be a dark color or a light color, a dark color that needs more coverage, because your fibers might not cover well? So this is the first thing you need to decide. Do I actually need to do all of this extra shading? Maybe. Maybe not. How are you going to stitch it? Are you going to use just all French knots? Are you going to do basket weave? Are you going to do a directional stitch? It's all up to you. So this is one that I did for this one, okay? And I already got rid of that sample, so I can't show you that one. But what I can do is show you okay, so I actually did this a little backwards because I wasn't sure I was going to paint a background in. So we're going to cover all of what's in these directions. So what I do is I have a little line drawing that I use, and I tape it down to the table, and then I lay it on top and line up all my corners. And as you can see, this is how it was lined up. Okay, now like I said, tape down the paper, okay, and then you're going to put a piece of tape across the edge, the top edge of your canvas. I'm sorry, I can't zoom in and out because I just can't. If I do that, then I might be able to turn it. Hold on. Okay, so at the top of your waist canvas, I want you to put another piece of tape. So the reason why we do this is so that as we're going and drawing over it, and when you're drawing, of course, my pencil that I use is in my box because I'm so well prepared. As I'm drawing, if I can't see where the line is actually going underneath to draw it on, all I have to do is raise it up a little and I can see where that line is going underneath, okay? So it helps me move and be able to trace this on. So the 2H pencil is for hard lead, less comes off. I use that on the outer, on the perimeter, specifically on the perimeter of a round, because I don't want too heavy of a pencil line there in case when you're turning it over to finish it, you don't want to see any of that through your fiber. It's the other reason why I don't use Sharpies, is because it's much more difficult to cover it with paint. And it's so dark that if you're using a light color and it shows through your paint, then you're going to see it. Now, I have done the sample pieces that I sent out with a heavier lead because as you paint it, it's going to cover up your lines. But don't worry about that because you can always slide this back under once you've started painting if you've lost your way. And you can see where you need to cut in or not. Okay? Sorry. Okay. So then the next step is you're going to pick up all of this after you get the pencil on. You're going to take it outside in a very well ventilated area. Everybody tells you don't use pencil. They don't want you to use pencil because when you're pulling your fiber, oops, hold on, my battery's dying. I'm batting 1,000 tonight, guys. Okay. Okay. So we're going to take, so that our pencil doesn't come off when you pull your fiber through or when you touch it, or especially when you paint it. You're just going to take this outside and give it a light psh, 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 over the top, okay? And leave it outside to dry. When it isn't really smelly anymore, I'd give it a couple hours to dry. Then you can bring it back. You don't want to get this canvas wet, overly wet, doing anything, okay? So I'm going to lay that under so that we have, so there's I just put a paper towel down underneath. Now you're going to take pieces of tape, and I had prepped this for the class, so I apologize, and pull a piece off and lay it down around your perimeter. Okay. Then the next step we're going to do is we are going to put matte medium over the top of this. So the whole reason why I started doing this is because when I first started, I was painting for a store and I did this dark green background, and they said, you know, when it comes back from the painting companies or from the professional painters, you can't see the paint seep through like you have here. So you need to figure out what they do. Gesso doesn't work. Okay, so that's why because it has too much clay in it. So then it makes it so that it's just as porous and absorbing. So what I found by doing the process of setting the pencil, which is something we do in art for pastels, pencil drawings, oh, so many different mediums, was that it all helped keep the paint from being absorbed so quickly down into the canvas. Okay. So then we take Liquitex matte medium and we're going to dry brush it on. Dry brushing means that you're keeping it right on the tip. You're actually eliminating some of it off before you start to tamp it on. Okay, and let me show you what I mean by that. If you ever did crafting in the 80s and did stenciling, you would do dry brush technique to do stenciling. Or now, it's kind of become popular again. So what you do is you get a little bit of paint, matte medium, on your brush, and you kind of bring it over to the side and make sure you don't have big glops of it. It's really hard to catch in the light. There. See, I'm taking most of it off. Okay. And I'm just going to tamp it, then give it a smear. And by going back and forth over it, number one, I go right to left because it is clear, so it's not easy to see. And I do it in like 1-inch segments. And I do the angle because it really gets it down into the cross grain of, if you have one of my painting kits, these canvases come pre-prepped, so you don't have to worry about it, okay? The ones that I sent you already have this done. This matte medium is the same thing that you're going to use to thin your paint if you need to thin it. Sometimes the older our paints get, they get a little claggy. So we have to put a little bit of thinner to thin it down. Water will make your paint dry faster. Now, that doesn't mean that this is a extender. There we go. I knew the word would come to me. It doesn't extend the paint so that it is stays wet like oil paint, the acrylic. So you can start painting on it again right away. This really is going to help increase the flow of the paint. So the next thing that we need to do is we are going to get our 3 blues out. Actually, it's more like 4. And then a big old booger comes out like that, which you can't really see because like that. Ugh, seriously. Because when our paint, it's going to coagulate no matter what we do. Because there's a little air pocket, and the more paint you use, the more air is going to hit it. Okay. So here we have 3 different types of paint. Well, not for long. So I'm going to mix. I put it on the white on this side because I'm just going to pull a little bit of that blue into the white. It will not take long for it to alter the color. So this is my light, medium, sort of medium, and dark. But I'm not keeping this my dark. I'm going to bring this over. Oh, you can see that I'm going to bring these two together. Who am I kidding? Okay. Because I just don't want it as intense as that, as straight out of the bottle. I rarely use paint straight out of the bottle. And if I do, I thin it with matte medium or something like that so it tones it down. And I'm going to add a little more matte medium here. Okay. I'm going to put on my glasses. And we're just going to start with laying in the lightest color. Okay, I'm going to use my bigger brush for this. And again, I don't want a ton on. I kind of goobed it in there. I'm sorry. Let's take off some. And we're just going to tamp in our lightest color. Okay. So what happens is with this camera, I apologize, it does not like to show this, the subtleness of this light blue. So one of the things we are going to talk about, we're just going to get all this light blue in, okay, and then we'll come back and shade. Is the letter that you choose, okay? So there are two ways you can do your letter. You can do your letter before in pencil. But, you know, I just found that for beginners, I think it's better to not be inhibited by trying to avoid the letter. Let's just let you be creative and decide what goes where and how you're going to do it. Because, I mean, actually, if you just wanted to put in a solid petal, you could. You wouldn't have to do all of this shading, and, you know, you could just keep it solid and go from there. Okay, like that. All right. So I was going to try some new brushes, but I'm going to go back to the other brush. This is a size 0 Master Touch Fine Art Studio. I went back onto the Hobby Lobby website to order more, and it says they're sold out online. I don't know what's going on again. All right, let me see. I want to come in a little bit. Okay. So I think I want to grab this blue, okay, and I'm going to lay in where the shady areas are. And I'm grabbing some matte medium, okay, and I'm going to thin this paint down, all right, just grabbing it like that. So it almost looks like watercolor. See how transparent that is? Okay. And I'm just very lightly, circular motion, going to grab a little bit of the white because I think I'm getting it too dark. Pull it up in, right? But again, you don't have to do it exactly the way I'm doing it, okay? This is all on how you want to do it and what you like. Recently, at Needlepoint by the Bay in class, I had a couple of students that were doing very, they were doing the hydrangea basket one, and they were doing very impressionistic flowers. And it was great. I loved seeing how everybody did something just a little different. It was wonderful. And they made the piece their own instead of trying to make it just like this. I think, when we were kids, we just kind of go for it and we have fun and it's the way we like it. And then as we get older, we're so worried about it being perfect. And it's well, number one, it's going to be stitched over. So you really don't need quote unquote perfect shading. You just need to get your colors laid in and enjoy the process. Let it be a little organic and kind of fluid and figure out how you like something. That's why I include a little test canvas with it. Practice to the side and figure out how you want to make your piece pop for you. You might not like these colors, the blues that I'm using. You may want to do it pink. I had one person who did some pink and some lavender and then some that were not a different form of purple. It was a little warmer as well. So it was really interesting on the colors that she chose. So I am just using up some of that paint and pulling it so that I don't have a big collar glop of paint there. I'm letting the paint literally wear off. And I'm just kind of doing this light kind of feathery tickle with the paint. And I'm grabbing I try to keep my hands in even with my not nice nails. Okay. Again, I'm just kind of, so I switched it up to my, what I'm deeming my middle color, my mid-tone. Okay, like this, okay. And I'm putting in those shadows. And the reason I'm using that is because it's lighter and I can just kind of make a plan. I mean, if you think about it, you could make a color copy of your black and white line drawing and color it in with some crayons or maybe the colored pencils that we got for all of the fun stress coloring that we were doing for a while. Well, that some people were doing for a while. Maybe it wasn't you. Okay, let me get this up into screen, and I'm gonna make this petal go behind, and that petal come forward. All right. Like this. And one more. Now, I have done this design multiple times now. I don't want you to feel like, oh my gosh, she's going way too fast. I can't do it that fast. That has nothing to do with it. Now, let's talk about primary colors. So when you're using these paints, you may find that some of the colors are a little thin. They're a little more translucent. The certain reds, blues, and yellows, primary colors. The yellow especially is very thin because, and some reds, because it's pure pigment. So if they add any white, it's going to give it a shift tone, and they don't want to do that. So they are adding pure pigment into this clear medium to make your craft paint. So some of those you might need to pump it up a little bit, maybe prime it with a color that's a shade lighter, and then come in with the color that you want to make sure you're getting good, easy coverage. Okay, so I'm going to just come in here and I'm going to grab a little matte medium and this tone that we mixed up that's kind of both, so it's not quite so dramatic. And I'm going to put a little more matte medium in there because it's not quite translucent enough. I have done a lot of watercolor painting. Okay, and you always plan where your white areas are and your light areas, because you're really, it's kind of taboo to use white to paint something out. At least it was with my art instructor. It was a huge no-no. So that's how I tend to paint. And that being said, okay, that one goes behind. Sorry, gotta sometimes think about what I'm doing as I'm talking. Okay, I want to bring some color out here just for tonal change. Now remember, you might decide to do solid colors. This one light blue, this one medium blue, this one light blue again, this one really dark. All up to you. Okay? And so I tend to try to plan for my white areas and how I'm putting these colors on. So give it a little prime. Oops, you can't see what I'm doing. Give your color a little bit of prime. Now you'll see that I try to keep a healthy amount of paint on my brush as I'm doing this, because it stops it from skipping over the cross sections of the weave. All right, like that. Okay. A little bit of matte medium, thin it out. All right. Okay. Now, I am going to bring a I mean, you can put any color that you want to in there. So this is a style that I did where you avoided, okay, you avoided painting in the letter, right? And then say with this one, this is using a dark color, okay? So I kind of like the dark color, but I don't know. I'd like to try something else, but what do you do? For all intents and purposes, since the paints that I sent you were out with the packets are navies. Now, when you're dealing with navy, you have to lighten it because otherwise it dries black. It's really dark, 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 dark. Okay? So I'm pulling some of this color into it. All right? Now I want to make sure that I have really, really nice flow to this. And then I'm going to grab some of this matte medium from over there and put it in. All right. Now, to get, hopefully I didn't thin it too much, we will be able to see very quickly. This is much more vibrant in the camera image than it really is in real life. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to start in the corner filling in. Okay, I think I'm going to do that because I don't like having that the way it was. I'm getting a good glop on there. Okay. I'm really just laying that in. To get nice heavy color, that's opaque the first time, don't go back over it because it'll lift the color off that you just put on. Okay? So sometimes I kind of squint my eyes so I can see how the stitches might fall. It blurs the step effect a little. So I'm giving kind of I'm just going to go around all the edges of the flowers. I just had a lot of paint there, and I filled one of the holes. I get rid of more paint, and then I pop that hole with the tip of my brush. So that will be thinner because of how I just pulled across it and spread that paint out more. I will be coming, I'm trying to get rid of some of the excess paint on my brush by pulling it out into the larger area, okay? Because I'm going to be filling this in, so, and we're going to do it kind of the same way we did the other the same way we did the petals. There we go. Sorry, I get a little hyper focused when I'm doing this. Okay. All right. I'm going to take this. I'm going to lay that center in. And add a little darkness, darker blue to it. Sometimes I get bored with painting the background and I change things up. Now, I might make these metallic. I don't know. Sometimes it's fun to add. And to get rid of color, I simply twirl my paintbrush in my fingers, grab the background blue, right? Okay. We're just kind of systematically working our way around. Now, if you're using a lighter color, or you're not doing anything at all, you may want to fast forward through the video. I have to say, a lot of times I just go ahead and use my little brush instead of grabbing a different brush. And who knows, you might like that effect. You might think, hey, I want something that is kind of shady and so that I can leave it open. It would help if I moved the canvas down, right? All right. Just like that. Oh, that was supposed to go up there, wasn't it? Okay. I had to make sure that that wasn't someone trying to get in to a class that I'm not in. Because after a certain amount of time, Zoom shuts you off. Okay. Excess paint coming off. Pop that little hole. Almost there. There. All right. Okay, get most of that. So what I found for new people is it is just better to be able to slide the letter underneath, right? But even if you're going to be covering it up with white afterwards. So we're going to bring our natural hog bristle brush in, and the reason why it's all different kinds of funky colors is because these bristles get stained. So I have like one that I just do with blues, one that I do with greens, one that I do with reds, so that just in case some weirdo paint decides to mix, which it shouldn't ever, but does it? I have. Okay. And we will come back in and do another coat in a minute, because by tamping it like that, we're pulling the paint back off as we go. All right. Grab some with this brush. I'm laying a heavy bead of it. Over any areas that look thin, back in. I think I have something living in my ceiling. Frickin' creeps me out. But I don't know that for sure. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about, so we have one that's dry. Okay. So I'm going to take a letter. I don't know. Who do I know that could use a gift? Mm, 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 mm. Gonna be. So I have letters here, individually from packets that I had put together that accidentally didn't get certain letters. Why not? Let's do K for Kelly. It's got lots of swirly parts. Why not? Okay. So now we're going to do just what we did before. If you have the full packet, you don't have to worry about this. Okay. Oh, I see my person who was cutting the letters out took the line off that side. I'll punish her later. Kidding, kidding. She got grandbaby on board. That isn't happening. All right, so we're going to kind of try to center it, because certain letters, when they're twirly swirly like this, I feel they're a little heavier on this side, and so this goes really close, and then this side's farther away. So we kind of need to start looking very closely at our stitches, all right, and see that we're going to look at this as our vertical line, this side line, because this line on the K is kind of soft and angled. So we have to find the straight. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Way off. And then, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, that was lucky. 7, 6, 7, 8, 9. But I think it looks pretty good there. Now, so the reason I was doing the colors I was doing was because of the lining of the box I was going to put it in. Self-finishing box, you know. It has yellow flour in it. But yeah, we can still do that. Let's do that. I mean, I can finish it however I want, right? So I'm going to put some yellow, and this is more of a butter yellow that looks really bright there. It is not that bright. And we're going to come in, although the yellow in the box is quite bright. I'm going to pull a little bit of yellow into the white. Why am I doing this? Well, because we have some very pale areas and I don't want to lose track of where our letter is by going into the lighter areas. If you're doing white, do white, but then maybe darken up the petal around it. Make this area a little darker so you don't lose it. Now, we're going to use that same technique of raising and lowering if we can't see where the letter has gone. And we're just going to follow the K that's underneath. I have tried everything from using a light box under it to, I'm just trying to get the outline behind it, but there's a little dog leg for this K, part of the K here, right? Like that. Like that. Yep, yep, yep. We will come back and look at the stitch aspect because we could be hitting spots that are not actually stitches, right? Right. Don't want to be going in between. Letters are very precise. Kind of do a preliminary once over. Like that. Okay. Okay. Now, as a stitcher, you might not want to worry about, oh, I can make the choices as I stitch. But as somebody that sometimes paints masters, I have to make sure that the next person that's going to be doing the repetitive painting of this has very clear instructions. Okay? I don't want them to have to guess and interpret. I want them to know exactly how I would like this painted. Right? Right. This is how I have always done my lettering. I just print it out on a computer. I don't count them out. I did do a set of counted on there for the lobster, for everybody, like if they wanted to put a monogram on it for the little lobster, or for the little, see, I kind of got a little out of control there. Go like that. Alright. Just like that. Okay. Now, most people aren't going to really care if they're just going to stitch over it. Okay. And that's it. That's all. It's all up to you and how you interpret your painting and how you want to do what you have. I really enjoy seeing how everybody does it for themselves, what they like. Like I said, you can do a gradient where it's just kind of shady in the background and more of solid petals. It just is really up to you and how you want your piece to look when it's done. The creative stitching that everybody does now is just so fantastic. It's so different from what others do. Now you can see that I have some light areas still. Sometimes also holding it over a darker area, it makes it very apparent where you need to do a little more coverage. Like I said, especially if you were going to do open stitches. But I mean, it's, again, it's not a have to. I mean, you could choose to put some leaves in here. And I just come back in and give it another coat, and then another coat. Okay? And that's the magic. Well, not magic, just painting. Okay. And then once you're done, you can peel off your tape and it will be completed and yours ready to stitch. I really hope this helps you. If you have any other questions, I'm sorry it wasn't with at least one other person to ask questions during class, but unfortunately, at this time when I did this video, it was because no one was able to come to class at the designated time. So thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, if you want to do a quick video while you're getting started, a quick Zoom call, just message me to set it up, and I'm more than happy to help walk you through any of the steps. And happy painting. I can't wait to see what you stitch with it.